So here are the top 5 things that are keeping you broke in 2025. So let's just jump into it. Anyone who doesn't know, my name's Rebecca and I run Rebecca's Finance Tutorials. Now, first things first, I'm going to rewind some time because circa, I want to say it was a good 6 years ago, something like that. I was taking a walk and I was listening to YouTube, as I always do when I go for a walk. And I came across this podcast of this guy talking about how he had transformed the way that he was living at this point. And it was the first time that I'd heard the phrase golden handcuffs. And I was like, what the heck does that even mean? But essentially what golden handcuffs is lifestyle creep. So the more that you earn in your job, and this was definitely me at that point in time, the more you spend. So I remember qualifying as an accountant and getting that pay rise for the first time ever, because every time I used to do an exam, I used to get a £500 pay rise per year. And then I ended up getting something like £23,000 or £25,000 and thinking I was a millionaire. But anyway, I decided to go ahead and buy myself a car on finance. Now, I already had a car before that on finance. I had a Skoda. That was, I think it cost me something like £110 a month or something like that. And then I jumped all the way up to a Mercedes B-Class. Now, I love that car. It was gorgeous. It was an automatic car. It was just the best car for me at that time. And I was doing a lot of mileage as well, so it just made my life so much easier. But it came with a price tag. Now, that initial joy that I felt when I purchased the car soon left me quite quickly, actually. I think it was probably by the second or third monthly instalment, which cost circa £367, something like that, for the car. And yeah, it felt good driving it, but in all reality and realistically, I could have just saved up and purchased a car for £2,000-3,000 that would have done exactly the same job. I wouldn't have had to pay interest, I wouldn't have been tied in for 3 years, and yeah, all the rest of it that goes with it. So what I would recommend is, if you are looking to buy a car, just sort of take your time. I would say, maybe mull it over for a few weeks. Don't do what I did and just kind of impulse buy, really, because I just walked into a garage and found what I liked. Didn't really think too much about the price tag because I thought, well, that doesn't sound too bad, but when you add it up, do that math over 12 months, that's quite a lot of money. And then when you do it over 3 years, again, that's even more, and it's ridiculous. I actually got really lucky with that car because I managed to sell it during lockdown, and that particular car was in high demand, so I ended up making a small profit of it. But that was a really extreme circumstance, and 9 times out of 10 you'll end up paying back far more than you initially invested in a car. Definitely those that are on finance lease. And as a result of that, because I learnt my lesson quite quickly, and thanks to a few podcasts and things that I was listening to at the time, the most recent car that I purchased was in cash. So no more finance leases, no more loans, just cash. And is it the best car in the world? No. Does it get me from A to B? Yes. So yeah, definitely worth thinking about. And again, if you save for something in cash, then you don't owe anyone, there's no additional interest, and in all honesty, it actually feels a little bit better being able to do that. And I think I treasured this car more than I did the previous one, even though that's mad to say because, as I say, it was a Mercedes B-Class, but I love my car now. So anyway, the next thing is not keeping a budget. So if I was to ask you right now exactly how much is going in and out of your bank account every month, I can guarantee that 9 times out of 10 most people don't know. And I can also guarantee that 9 times out of 10 you are not looking for your bank statement monthly and you don't know exactly your ins and outs. So what I would recommend you do is just an exercise, is to pull up your bank statement as part of a budgeting process and go through maybe the last 3 months or 4 months, up to 6 months maybe, and have a look at exactly what you're spending, and just double check on there if there's things such as subscriptions that you're paying twice for, maybe there's subscriptions that you don't need anymore. For example, if you're paying for Netflix and Prime, do you really need both of those? And that's, £15-16 a month saved. If you're paying for Prime delivery, again, do you need that? Is that something that you can cancel or look to cancel? If you're paying for a gym membership like I was that you was never using, Again, that's £19 a month in my case that I am now saving. Yeah, I'm not very good when it comes to the fitness journey and all of that. I'd rather go for a nice walk with podcasting. I'm simple like that. I'd rather go for a walk in nature, through the trees in the woods, than be in a stuffy gym any day of the week. Now, when I've done this in the past, I've saved sometimes £100 a month, sometimes £150 a month. Maybe for you it might be £10, £20, but you add that up over a year, that's £10 to £20 you could put away towards Christmas, maybe car insurance, birthdays, what have you. It still adds up over time, so definitely something to look into if you haven't ever done that before. And it's really simple. Just get a CSV download or a PDF download of your bank and just go for it. And you might be surprised and a little bit horrified sometimes as well. But yeah, let me know how you get on in the comments with that one. My next tip is to stop impulse spending. Now, if you ever go to, even Primark, Spar, Tesco, any shop really, any retail shop, so it's actually quite hard for me to think of one off the top of my head. This just shows how much I don't shop. Even Next, so I was in Next the other week for my birthday, you'll see when you get to the counter that there are tons and tons of things up at the counter. Little things that cost £1 here, £5 here, and sometimes they'll even ask you when you get to the till, oh, do you fancy purchasing this that costs £2 today, it's on offer. And your brain automatically thinks, well, it's on offer, so it's a good buy for me, and that is an impulse buy. So what I would say is, if you're going shopping, whether that be food shopping, firstly, don't go on an empty stomach, and that's something that my dad told me really, really early on. You'll find that you spend so much more money if you go to a shop on an empty stomach, a food shop. So make sure that you've got a list, you know exactly what you're going to be buying. Use all of the club cards under the sun. If you're going to Tesco, for example, make sure that you bring that, because those pricings without those club cards cost an absolute fortune. So that. Also, make sure that if you're going in for a reason, if you're trying to cut back on expenditure. And maybe even use shopping as a reward. So if you are studying towards an exam, for example, at the end of that, if you pass your exam, maybe reward yourself with going to the shops with £50 or something like that. But don't go into a shop, see something on sale and think that's a bargain, therefore I must have. That's one of the worst types of mindset that you can have. And actually, I'm going to give you a little test here, and it's something that I picked up on a good 4 years back. Now, at the end of January, or just in January in general, you get your January sales. Now, what happens is, a lot of the prices that you see in January have actually been inflated between August, September, October, and then they reduce them over November, December, January back to what they were originally. So you're not actually getting a bargain at all. And you can track this yourself over the months. So do it in January, February, March, have a look on Amazon, have a look again in store at like Next and other retailers, and view the prices at that time versus, again, October versus August, September, October, and then November, December, January, and you'll see that sort of price hike in that time. And the other thing is, if you actually go into, I think it's TK Maxx I was in the other day, and you go down the sales items, and actually a lot of the clothes that I looked at were shabby, the material that was being used wasn't very good. You could literally pick the piece of clothing up against a light and you could see directly through it. So yeah, you might not be getting as good a bargain as what you think you are. So cut the impulse spending out. Now finally, you might have heard the phrase keeping up with the Joneses. Now the one thing that you just want to cut out, completely cut this out if you're doing it at the moment, is spending to impress. You don't need to impress anybody. And if the people that you're surrounding yourselves with are impressed by your amount of spending, then maybe they might not be the right support group for you. So again, that was something I cut out a good 5 years ago. I spend where I have to, but I never go above and beyond, and I'm definitely not spending to impress anybody. So the second that you realise that you don't need to do that at all, you'll be surprised again how much you can save. So don't fall into any of those traps. Now, if any of that sounds like you, then I'd love to hear from you in the comment section, and for you to just share your stories really, because I think the more that we can learn from one another, the better, and I would definitely be putting these things into place. But before I end the video, the last thing that I want you to just check on is how well you're managing your debt. So One really quick and easy win for 2025 is to look at the amount of interest that you're paying on credit cards if you've got any, and loans if you've got any. So you might be able to potentially look at different options, such as an interest-free credit card, or maybe even consolidating that debt, or maybe paying off one of those cards over the other. So it might just be worth sitting down and having a look exactly how much interest you're paying per month, and if you're being charged for the likes of purchases on those credit cards, then you might be able to make better decisions by using, for example, another credit card instead of the one charging you for purchases, or perhaps even paying in cash if that's an option to you. So definitely worth taking a look and seeing where, if possible, you can save any money or consolidate. So that's it, that's the end of the video. So I hope you found it useful, and I will catch you at the next one.